Hi, so this video is supposed to be about understanding bias, and what we essentially did was we had to search for two things that were bias, and we had to say what type of bias they were, and we had to basically just we had to choose the type of media bias that represent each, and then essentially explain why. So I picked propaganda bias and partisan bias. And the thing I found about propaganda bias, the definition of it is when a story is reported with the deliberate intention of making a case for a particular policy or point of view without explicitly stating it. So this one isn't an article what I found, it's just the cover of a magazine. And the cover of the magazine is for Newsweek. It was published in November 2009, and it has Sarah Palin on the cover. It's kind of like a race, not racy, but there was a lot of controversy with it because it was a picture that wasn't supposed to be published, and she is with the American flag, and the headline, like the biggest headline on the entire magazine, says, "How do you solve a problem like Sarah?" with question marks, and then it says, "She's bad news for the GOP and everybody else too." So right there, the writer really explains what their feeling is on her, saying that they don't like her and that she shouldn't, that she's a bad idea for the United States. And I couldn't find the article, but I'm sure the article goes on to explain like why that she didn't, why they don't think that she should be help with the United States and like doing things within the government. But I thought this was propaganda bias because it deliberately showed that it did not think Sarah Palin was a good idea for the United States, and it didn't necessarily come out and say on the front cover like don't vote for Sarah Palin. It said that she's a bad idea for the United States and that she's bad news for the United States as well as everybody else too. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and I was actually surprised they put something like that on a magazine cover, because that was really one-sided, I felt like, and really biased, and didn't really offer any explanation at all. But I guess it's kind of what magazines have to do on the cover, and kind of just pick certain things and grab people's attention, essentially. And the second bias was partisan bias. And partisan bias is deliberately promoting a cause, so that could be to vote for a certain candidate, or it could be just endorsement of a cause. And the article I chose was named Mexico Drug Wars Will Not End with Legalizing Marijuana and Mexican Cartels. And this article essentially talked about, it offers suggestions on how to decrease drug use in the United States and explains why legalizing drugs would harm the U.S. economy more. So I said this was partisan because, like I said before, partisan bias was deliberately promoting a cause. Well, even in the title of this article, you can see that it's promoting the cause of not legalizing marijuana and keeping marijuana illegal. And obviously you can see that right from the title. But if you go on to further read in the article, everything is negative against marijuana. They never say that legalizing marijuana would be a good idea. They go on to say how they can fix the drug problem. They go on to offer suggestions on how to fix the drug problem without legalizing marijuana, and they say things, they offer what they think would happen if marijuana were to be legalized. So I thought that was interesting because they really stuck to their point of view, and they really explained it well, like what they thought about the situation, and they really backed up their personal bias with facts that they had seen or had looked up. Like, they offered the suggestion to an entrepreneurship training program, which essentially would help people with drug problem, or not drug problem, with low incomes, which is one of the causes of drug abuse. So, and this whole article basically talked about that and how that they could put this into place, and it really kind of knocked on the American economy and how the recession is really hurting these people. So these two types of bias, I thought were different, but they like the propaganda is more like not really saying it, whereas partisan really kind of just comes out and says, this is what I think and this is why it's right, and it just kind of backed it up. So those are the two different types of bias I chose. Bye.